I now call this regular meeting of the Davenport Community School Board of Directors to order. Director Poshen, would you please read the board priorities?
Priorities. Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students. Provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Thank you. Director Snyder, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Our mission statement reads, to enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. And our vision statement reads, education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and the community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now we're on to our presentation. Mr. Superintendent, I'll turn it over to you.
We have two presentations tonight. First up, we have Connie Dobbles with us. She's the director of our food and nutrition program here in Davenport Community Schools. And kind of a special recognition here, and I'll let her kind of talk about what we've got going on here. So Connie's on her way up.
Thank you very much for your time tonight. We are very honored to have with us Krista Anderson. She is a manager level 4 for food and nutrition services with Davenport Schools, and she has been nominated and awarded the manager of the year for the state of Iowa. Predominantly, this award was given to her for all of her efforts that she put forth during COVID throughout the district in meeting the needs of the students throughout our communities. But this award was not given to her just for those things that she did during that time. It was also given to her for all of the work that she does for Davenport Schools over the past 22 years. So we were all very nervous when the pandemic happened, and Krista herself has a special needs child at home. And even though she had fears and concerns for her own safety and for that of her family, she was more concerned and worried about the thousands of students that could potentially go without food during our pandemic. So that alone has one of the reasons why she was awarded this, and I'll let Krista say a few words. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me here tonight. I would just like to say what an honor it is to accept this award with Davenport Schools. I've worked with Davenport Schools to feed our community, and I'm truly honored to feed our community with Davenport Schools. To date, we have served in our community 500,000 meals since the pandemic started. So with that being said, I'm honored to accept the award, but it's because I have great leadership and amazing food service staff that we have completely been able to make this happen. So thank you for having us.
It just goes to show the true wonderful employees that we have at Davenport Community School District. Our next presentation, I think you can feel the energy in the room. I would like to invite up Miss Tanya Wilkins, who is the principal at Sudlow, to give us a presentation on the Creative Arts Academy. We had a presentation not too long ago, and some exceptional students came forward, and they all recognized the fact that many of them recognized the fact that they had come through the Creative Arts Academy, which sparked the Creative Arts Academy coming to the school board. So, Miss Wilkins, thank you for coming today and sharing our wonderful students and staff with us today from the Creative Arts Academy. Thank you.
Yes. So I'm not going to do any talking, which is probably best because I could go on forever about this program. I'm really lucky to be a part of it and the staff that helps out with it. So Emma, Abdur, come on up. So they will share with you everything about Creative Arts Academy.
Good evening, school board members, district leaders, and community members. My name is Emma Banks, and standing next to me is Abdur Howard. We are 8th grade students of the Creative Arts Academy. I am a theater student, and Abdur is a music student. We want to thank you for inviting us to present tonight, and we look forward to sharing our art with you.
We would like to start our presentation with a performance by 7th grade dance student Keith Wright. This dance was choreographed by Keith with guidance from our dance instructor, Bridget Jessen. Entitled Stand Up, this dance is meant to represent the story of Harriet Tubman and the courage that she showed in her efforts with the Underground Railroad. Please enjoy.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going down the night. Far across the river, I hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. I go to prepare a place for you.
This year has presented us numerous obstacles, but despite these challenges, we are pleased with what we have been able to accomplish. Tonight, we will be sharing with you some of the projects and accomplishments that we are most proud of.
To begin, we would like to share with you the Warsaw Ghetto Stories project we completed in partnership with the Jewish Federation of the Quad Cities and the American Jewish Committee of Chicago. This project, meant to reflect on the experiences of those Jewish individuals who lived in Warsaw during the Second World War, involved all divisions of the CAA. The dancers choreographed and performed 4 dances. The Visual Arts Division created the backdrops. Com Media added animation. Theater read the opening monologue. And students from the Music Division recorded the closing credits song, One Day by Modest Yahoo. This project...
Just a peek of my imagination on paper.
Hi, I'm illustrator, and this is my portrait of Bayard Rustin. I made this with watercolor paints and graphite pencil to represent the contrast of his beliefs with the gray times he was fighting against, as well as to show the equalities he was fighting for and the hardships he went through. This was a part of our social justice unit, where we researched civil rights activists, specifically ones who were lesser known, which I found really inspiring, seeing how people like Bayard Rustin devoted their lives to fighting injustices, which further influenced this piece.
Hello, my name is Fox Dobbins, and I have been attending the Creative Arts Academy for the past 3 years. This specific piece I took last summer is supposed to represent the theme of both beauty and deterioration, specifically in the recent climate of the world. All of the editing and framing techniques, I learned every single one of them from the CAA, and I don't think I could have done it without the help I got.
In order to further our mission of promoting inclusivity and embracing diversity, our music division has put great emphasis on learning the music of other cultures. This year, the students have experienced the music of Trinidad through the steel drum ensemble, Cuban music through Afro-Cuban drumming, the music and dance of Brazil through the samba band, and the music of Ghana through the Jil ensemble. In addition to the courses offered to CAA students, steel band and piano classes have been offered to non-CAA Sudlow students through MTSS electives and the new after-school steel band program. Please enjoy the short clip of the CAA steel band performing the song Hello by Trinidadian soca artist Kes.
Always active and often collaborating with one another, the dance and theater divisions have been extremely busy this year. In addition to their efforts in the Warsaw Ghetto Project, the dance division is very proud of their entry into the city's Hope Capsule Project, which was featured on the local television show, Paula Sands Live. Despite the challenges of emoting through the mass, theater students have completed numerous projects, including 2 recent performances of the show, Tree the Possibilities. Currently, the dance and theater divisions are collaborating in a musical theater unit and are here to share with you a portion of their projects. Our students Manny Thornton, Keith Wright, Hannah Corver, Ellie Ross, and Cameron Shumpert, performing Nicest Kids in Town from the musical Hairspray. As we stated before, we are quite proud of what we have been able to accomplish in these unprecedented times. As we move forward into the post-pandemic world, we plan to make great efforts in exchanging more with the community and look forward to more performance opportunities.
On behalf of the CAA faculty and student body, we want to thank you again for your time and for your support of the CAA. At this time, we will happily answer any questions any of you may have for us.
Director Hayes.
Awesome, absolutely awesome, and I think everyone in the room would agree with that. One thing I missed though, Fox, you said beauty, and what was the second portion of that?
Deterioration.
Deterioration. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Director Beck.
I just want to say thank you. That was amazing. All of your performances, sharing your art, we really appreciate it. I'm so glad that we have this opportunity for our students in the district. And I guess if I could ask any of you one question, it would be, what is one thing that you're going to take with you for the rest of your life from the CAA, from your experience here?
I would say for me, maybe the innovation of it and being able to actually be yourself. Because for 6th grade, I went to Williams, and that was just, I feel like, I don't know, I had to be somebody else. But here I could just perform, and I love that.
Cool.
I learned to delegate. I wasn't always good at it, but through this program, I learned a lot about teamwork and working together, because teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you to every member of the Creative Arts Academy.
You might get that from Graham.
Thank you for that awesome presentation. You're going to be a tough act to follow for the rest of the meeting.
Well, that was absolutely bucket filling. Thank you so much, Sudlow Creative Arts Academy students and families and teachers and instructors for coming and sharing your wonderful children with us. Thank you so much for that. Mr. President, I would make a request that we allow IJAG to do their presentation. We have some students and some teachers as well. They're down in the discussion item because it is a contract. But out of respect for them, I would request that we allow them to do a presentation on IJAG right now, and then we can get into the discussion later if you guys are okay with that. Okay. Dr. Klipsch, if you wouldn't mind coming up and introducing our people from IJAG, which obviously is for Iowa Jobs for America's Graduates. And it's a program that is currently in our schools, and we have some incredibly hardworking teachers and faculty and staff members that are a part of this program.
Yes, thank you. In January, I presented our modified allowable growth budget to you, and it was approved with all these different components in it. One of the dominant components of that budget is our IJAG program. And I do appreciate you allowing them to speak a little earlier so that they can get home and study and all that good stuff. But I'm going to have Christina Spence come up from IJAG, and she will walk through the program. And I'm very excited that she brought some students and staff with her because they will do a much better job of explaining and providing some insights into the program and the great benefit of it. And then later on in the meeting tonight, I'll be available to answer questions so that you can make an informed decision on the contract. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time tonight to let us share with you what the IJAG program has done this year. It's so nice to follow, how do you follow that act, right? So we've got our work cut out for you. But I think I've got some information that you guys are going to be excited to hear your return on investment with our specialists and our students within the district. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, awesome, thank you. As you'll see this slide up here, I'm going to ask, I guess, does anyone recognize this young man on the front of this cover? So this is a student from Davenport Central. He represents the cover of the IJAG annual report this year. So it's nice that one of our locals made the front cover. His specialist, James Porter, is here and can speak a little bit to his story as well. On the left of that annual report, you'll see our compass. We've shared this with you guys many, many times, but one of the reasons that we're here tonight is our True North. That's the icon that's at the very top. You'll see the student with kind of the circle around it. Those students for IJAG are what we call our True North. It's the reason why we do what we do. It's why the specialists are spending countless hours, especially in and out of the classroom. Next slide. As you guys know, IJAG is the premier school-to-work transition program in the state. We have been growing tremendously here in Davenport as well throughout the state. This year, we are on a path to expand into 35 programs. We have also secured some contracts within the Department of Education and have submitted a 5-year growth plan. So this year, we are expanding 35 programs throughout the state. In the next 4 years after that, 50 programs throughout the state of Iowa over the next 5 years. So that's 50 each year after that. So we are continuing to grow and looking here to grow in the Davenport area here in the near future as well. Next slide. Student outcomes. One of the things that we've really focused on is our future-ready, connected, supported vision. Future Ready. Our specialists spend countless hours within the classroom making sure that our students are prepared for the careers of the future. We do that through internships, externships, job shadows, and having guests come into the classroom and speak about those opportunities. Connected. We've had so many employer engagements this year in our classroom, both virtually because of COVID, as well as in person. And I'll speak a little bit to those numbers here in a minute. Supported. Man, we look at the 3 R's in IJAG. The first one is relationships. Our specialists really spend time to get to know those students, to figure out what it is that they're really struggling with. They take that relationship and then essentially build upon that to help them feel supported and future ready to make sure they're successful in their community. Next slide. These are some of the outcomes. I know Davenport Community School District loves their data, right? So this year, in the classroom, the IJAG program, we served 334 students in the classroom. We had an average GPA in the classroom of 2.03. I was just kind of speaking to those employer engagements. This year in our Davenport Community Schools programs, we had 63 employers and partners in the classroom from the 4 targeted industries. Our Davenport 11th and 12th grade specialists this year, we had 81 students in follow-up. So one of the promises that we make to you within IJAG is we don't just stop when they graduate. So our commitment to the students is a year after they graduate, we are going to be following up with them. What that means is we're going to be looking at opportunities for employment. Let's say they graduated, they weren't 100% sure what they were going to do. We're going to connect them with opportunities to make sure they're getting that job or the career plan that they're looking for. The data that you're looking at right now is what we call our 5 of 5. The data on the left is the IJAG standard. So what this means is that 90% of the seniors that are in follow-up have graduated. Our target for the state is 90%. You will see that your Davenport program is at 94.695%. So they're excelling here in the Davenport area. For employment, what that means is that 60% of our graduates have some type of employment after high school, after they've graduated. Again, the IJAG standard, 60%. You'll see here locally, 84.5%. That's a huge number to be proud of. Full-time employment. Again, IJAG standard, 60%. Here locally, we're almost at 79%. Total full-time positive outcome, 75%. Again, we're killing it. We're at 85%. Further education rate. What this means is that students have gotten some additional credentialing. Maybe they're in school, whether that be part-time or full-time. Our target is 35%, and here in the district, we're at 50%. So as you can see, as a district, you guys have hit 5 of 5. But what I am happy to celebrate here tonight is I have several specialists, and I'm looking to see who they are, who have actually achieved 5 of 5 for their high school. So I am proud to congratulate Mr. James Porter from Davenport Central, our 11th and 12th grade specialist, for hitting 5 of 5 for his school. Wendy Wasuka from Davenport North, she has also hit 5 of 5. And this one should feel extra special for Davenport. We have an alternative program at Mid-City. It is not very likely in our IJAG organization that our alternative programs hit 5 of 5. And the reason for that, as you guys know, smaller population, right? Less kids. This year is Miss Amber Taylor's second year. She's only been our specialist at Mid-City for 2 years. This is her second year hitting a consecutive 5 of 5 with the graduates from Mid-City. So please help me in congratulating those specialists. Next slide. So one of the things that we brought tonight is we brought some students. You know, I could stand up here all day and talk about the great things that IJAG has done for the students here in the community, but what better way to do that than to let the students speak for themselves? So I am here to introduce Miss Denise Moore from Davenport North High School.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Denise Mora. I am a senior at Davenport North High School, and I've been in the IJAG program for about 3 years now. So I'm just here today really to talk about just a personal testimony of my experience with IJAG. So I started IJAG my sophomore year, and at that time I definitely would say I was less involved in school activities. Through IJAG and through the help of my specialist, Miss Wendy, I've definitely become more involved in the school environment. I joined plenty of clubs like National Honor Society, Environmental Club, Cultural Diversity Club, just to name a few. She definitely helped me push my personal boundaries in becoming an advocate for fellow students that I interact with on a daily basis. I've definitely become more confident in my cognitive abilities regarding the classroom and outside of the classroom. Through the help of Miss Wendy, I've actually gotten a job, and she helps me fix my resume, my cover letters, college applications. She's really just perfect, really, if I'm being honest. So she definitely has helped me with a lot of things, and I cannot thank her enough. Through her and Christina, they've actually helped me win the Ken Smith Scholarship for $2,000 for college fees and stuff like that. And I was also able to be one of the 2 Iowa IJAG students to be a part of the National Leadership Association, which is student run, so that's super cool. So overall, I really just think IJAG is a great program, and I'm just thankful for you guys for helping us get that started and helping fund it.
So just one more little tidbit is that take a good look at this young lady. She is going on to the University of Iowa to become a physician's assistant, and I could definitely tell you that watch out in the next 20 years that she'd become our first woman president.
I would also add to that, Denise kind of sold herself a little short when she told you about the Ken Smith Scholarship. They awarded 20 scholarships throughout the country, and Denise got 1 of those 20. So when she says, I won a Ken Smith Scholarship, hey, Davenport should be proud. That was 1 of 20 without the nation. So good job. The next presentation we're going to make is from Davenport Central, specialist Mr. James Porter. As you guys know, one of the things that we do is we work with employers in the community to provide jobs, opportunities, and a career pathway for success for our students. We were lucky enough to partner with Target, but again, I won't let them steal the thunder in the show. So with that said, please help me welcome Mr. Porter.
I'm going to make them dance here in a second. Good afternoon, good evening. Mr. Porter, Davenport Central, 11th and 12th grade specialist. This is my 5th year with the IJAG program. But like Mrs. Spence said, IJAG is all about connecting kids with employers. So developing a career path after high school. So just to name a few employers that we've developed relationships with. Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee has been a great partner, I would say, the last 4 years. I had the director of diversity in my classroom. He's in the corporate office in Des Moines. He came in the classroom. We were working on resumes, I believe. But he loved everything that we were doing because it's real world stuff. So we got an invite to tour Hy-Vee at Northgate. He had all the managers come out in every department, speak to the kids. But I had 4 students that wanted to apply for jobs. He interviewed the kids right on the spot, and they got hired. So this was 4 years ago, and the partnership is so great now that if I have a student that wants a job at Hy-Vee, simply they fill out an application online, they let me know what store they want to work at, I make a call, he calls the store manager, and the kids will have an interview within a couple days. Quad City Bank and Trust is another organization that we've developed a partnership with. We were fortunate enough to, 2 years ago, to visit both branch locations. I had a student and his mom worked at Quad City Bank and Trust, and I actually met her at Parent-Teacher Conference. We developed a relationship. She wrote a grant for us for transportation. We visited both locations. Kids had mock interviews by vice presidents. And we recently just received a $1,000 grant, probably about 3 weeks ago. John Deere is a huge partner with us. They do a lot of things within the classroom and outside the classroom. They have Welding, well, it was welding, but now it's any trade pretty much. They offer 10 to 15 scholarships each year. I had a student that graduated last year. She's attending Blackhawk College. She's getting 2 certifications, but she went through a 9-week program with John Deere. And the way that they have it set up is that you graduate high school, you graduate the program, and so she's in the hiring pool, but she's attending Blackhawk College. Target, I got this young man. I don't want to talk too long, but Target, we got some information that Target wanted to work with local high school students. And so we developed a 4-week mentorship. I was fortunate enough, I had 2 students that went through the pilot program. It was only 2 students, but 2 students went through the pilot program. 4 weeks of mentorship, 1 day a week. They go to Target. They're connected with a mentor at Target that looks like them. They bring in local mentors, but the goal is the 4th week is for the kids to interview and then hopefully get employed. So Rayvon Bell was a pilot student that went through the initial program, and now he's hired. He's making $15 an hour as a junior. So I'll let Rayvon talk a little bit about the mentorship.
Hi, my name is Rayvon. So for the mentorship, it was 4 weeks. In week 1, we met like all the ETLs and store directors and in the HR, got to know them a little bit. Then week 2, we dived into our resumes and cover letters to pattern them up to make them more look professional. And then also we had a marshal come in because the other student that was there with me, she wanted to be a detective, so they had a marshal come in and talk to us. And then week 3, we finalized our resumes, and then we had Scooby from KWQC come in to talk to us. No, that was week 4. Sorry, we had Dwayne Hodges week 3 come in to talk to us about his church and how he runs all his businesses. And then week 4, we did interviews, and then we got hired right after, both of us. And I ended up getting a mentor, Alex Washington, who is the store director at Target. And then we had Scooby came in and talked to us about his journey and how he got here. Thank you for your time.
And we also have 2 students. They love the pilot program so much that we're doing it again. So we have 2 Central students that are involved with their 2nd week of mentoring.
One of the things that I just want to add about these experiences, one of the blessings about IJAG is we seek out private and public sector funding. The opportunities that the specialists have talked about are at no cost to our students. There are no costs associated with any of those experiences. I know Mr. Porter talked about a John Deere partnership with them. When we do the welding programs or those other trade programs, we cover the costs with John Deere to pay for their schooling, their tools, whatever costs they need. One of the things that was up on Denise's slide that you saw that she actually attended a national conference in DC as a participant competing for the state of Iowa. I don't know if you guys have flown recently, but that trip, it was a 5-day trip to DC that IJAG covered and paid for. So these experiences, like I said, are provided to the students at no cost, but man, you can't really put a dollar on an experience, right? I'm sure if you asked her, she could tell you stories about all the great things that we did in DC. Next slide, please. I think that really about wraps up our presentation tonight. Does anyone have any questions? We would also entertain if anyone would like to visit any of our classrooms. You can see up on the screen, I apologize about the dark colored lettering. We do have a 9th and 10th grade program at Davenport West. Mr. Hood is here. He teaches in that class. Mr. Nunn, we have an 11th and 12th grade program at Davenport West as well. And then Taisha Aldridge is also here tonight. She is our 9-10 specialist at Davenport Central. And the other folks I have already introduced. So at this time, I would entertain any questions for myself, the specialists, or the students.
Director Beck.
First of all, thank you for sharing, and Denise and Rayvon, thank you for speaking to us. We really appreciate it. I have to say, Target is like my favorite store in the world, so I'm so excited that we have a partnership with them. My question is, well, first of all, I would love to come visit a classroom at some point, so I'll be in touch later, or feel free to email me. How do students get picked or choose to enter this program? How does that work?
Sure, that's a great question. So we look at three things that would qualify a student for our program. The first one is need. Does the student need it? So that would be academically would be behind, would be one of those barriers we would be looking at. We would be looking at college and career readiness. Do they have the skills to get on that pathway? Do they want to put in the work, right? It's an elective course. As our specialist could probably tell you, it's a lot of work, right? We're doing resumes, we're doing job shadows, we're out in the community doing community service. And benefit, that's our last thing. Is the student going to benefit from being in this elective course, right? And again, we could talk all day about the benefits. We do we kind of cap it off. This year we capped it off at 50 students for our veteran staff. Next year we'll be capping it off at 60. As we receive more state funding, our caps kind of go up so we can expand and provide more services for students.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Director Snyder.
Well, thank you guys all for coming for that presentation. IJAG has always been a program that I heavily support because as a district, I mean, that is our main goal, is to prepare our students for life, for their future. And IJAG goes above and beyond that, where normal education stops, and it takes those students to another level that they otherwise may not experience in school. In fact, we heard from both Denise and Rayvon, and Denise wasn't in a lot of programs. It got her more interested in school. She was part of more programs, and these kids now are on their way. I mean, that is what education is about, and that should be our mission as a district for all students, is getting them everything they need to be successful for the rest of their lives. And these programs wouldn't work without having the right specialists at our buildings. And we have the right specialists. And I'm proud of all the work you guys do.
I'll echo what Director Snyder and Director Beck said. Great presentation. You could have did a little dance number. There's still a little bit of time if you guys want to get up and try that out.
If you give us a few minutes, they're really good. We can get something going.
There you go. Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you. I'll leave cards because I am the program manager that oversees here this Quad City location. So if there are any questions of follow-up, I'll be happy to reach out. And like I said, if you're interested to come and do a classroom visit, our specialists, we have an open door policy. Come and stop in anytime, but be prepared to get your hands dirty because we do a lot of project-based learning and you're going to get dirty. And lots of glitter.
That is right up Director Potts' alley. All right, we will move on to, you don't have any other special
No, that's it.
presentation? Okay. We will move on to student board reports.
We're going to rock, paper, scissors tonight to see who goes first. Actually, go ahead, Meredith. You want to start us off?
I'll go. It's all good. So lots of exciting stuff happening at Central recently. So for seniors, we only have 6 days left, but who's counting? Nobody. So they actually hosted a catch-up academy this past Saturday where seniors could come into Central over the weekend and meet with teachers and get support for any subjects they may be falling a little bit behind on to make sure they're on track to graduate on the 6th. Also last Saturday, we had our environmental club sort of springtime cleanup. And so students from our Trium Music Honor Society, as well as our environmental club, volunteered around Central, and we planted, garden assortment things, I guess. And we weeded and we picked up trash. And a good time was had by all, and we had a little bit of beautification of our school grounds. Our girls swim team was named the All-Scholar team for their 3.793 GPA. So big congratulations to them. And then also in terms of academics, we recently had 7 boys and 9 girls go to state track and field. And one of our students, Nakari Bryant, actually placed 4th in the state in the hurdles. So big congratulations to them. We've completed all of our AP exams officially, so that's very exciting. Our annual AP exams are finished, and I know myself and a lot of other students are sighing breaths of relief. We had our last NHS meeting for the year.
So we are looking forward to inducting new juniors coming this fall, but that'll do it for this year. We also hosted our senior honors night, wherein we honored all of the seniors and their accomplishments, any seniors going to college, any scholarships received. So it was wonderful to see the culmination of everybody's hard work. And then one last thing is, as I walk around Central, I know that we did have the mask mandate removed, and so now masks are optional for students. But as I walk around Central, I do tend to see a little bit more mask wearing than maybe was originally anticipated. I think the majority of teachers and students at Central are still continuing to wear their masks even though they're not required, and I figured that might be something you wanted to hear. So I thought I'd throw that out. And then, as I said, this is 6 days until graduation, or 6 days until my last day of school for me. And so this will be my last board meeting, and I'd just like to say thank you to you all for letting me come and ramble before you once a month. I appreciate the opportunity, and I always enjoy coming.
All right, so just as a summarization of all the highlights that happened at North this year. So we'll start with fine arts. We had 6 vocal all-staters, and the Iowa High School Music Association small group contest. We had 8 Division I superior ratings, including a perfect ballot by North High Chamber Choir, 20 Division II excellent ratings. By the large group contest, we had 1 Division I superior rating for a concert chorale, 2 Division II excellent ratings for singers and varsity singers, and show choir performed at the Adler Chamber Choir Chorale, caroled outdoors for the public. For our band, the High School Music Association gave us a Division I rating at large group, and then we also got a Division I superior rating for orchestra, and the 9th grade orchestra received a Division II. For drama, last time I was here, I was telling you all about our exciting play that was happening, and we entered it into the high school musical awards. 2 students received an outstanding performer in a lead role, which one of you guys have already met, Devontae Wesley. And 2 additional students received special recognition for performance in a lead role. One of our scenes, Flying Home, received a Distinguished Scene Award, and all of this was awarded on a dress rehearsal 2 weeks before our actual performances. So if you can imagine how much better they got in the next 2 weeks. So for sports, our boys bowling team placed 2nd at state. Boys and girls basketball finished in the top half of the conference, and we had the MAC Player of the Year. Wrestling, we had 2 state qualifiers. And then for boys and girls track, we qualified for 4 events at state. Girls golf won the city meet. And then for academics, we had 44 graduates of the Accelerated Associate's degree, over $1 million in scholarships, including 3 presidential scholarships, a national merit finalist, almost 100 seniors receiving academic honors. And just to sum it all up, I wanted to say, as a prospective college student and then someone wanting to go into law and government, it's been a real pleasure to be a part of this board, get to see what government looks like in action. So thank you.
I know we're getting ready to head into a big chunk of our agenda, but holy cow, our teachers and students and families are really doing some outstanding things. I always joke around with Gary, and I throw in Miss Seller, and if they wrote a parenting book, it'd probably be a bestseller. So kudos to those 2 families and all the other families that were here tonight, because that was just an incredible show of what our students and families are capable of. So thank you so much for that wonderful detailed report.
Thank you all for being here this year.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. See you at graduation.
Thank you, ladies. Nice job. All right, board reports.
Oh, don't they keep their signs?
I know.
Oh.
Yes.
We can give them to them.
Director Kleinstrom.
First of all, I'd like to thank Corey Williams, principal at West High School. I made a visit. You know, we sit here and we talk about CTE, but when you actually go into the building and see what's going on, see the students participating, it is pretty amazing. I was very impressed at all the things that are going on. I also attended the Addams Family musical last Friday. Oh my gosh, what a great, entertaining show. It was excellent. And then I'd also like to thank Jenny Weipert. I went out to Mid-City. And again, we talk about that program with the alternative, but again, to see what's going on in there. And I appreciate the opportunity and the time they took for giving me a tour. Thank you.
Any other board, Director Hayes?
I don't have a report, but I would like to publicly congratulate the students that received the 2021 Salute to Academics and Achievements that was listed last week in the Quad City Times. Students all over the Quad Cities basically were listed in there, and I was really happy to see some of our students from Central and West that were listed on that report. So congratulations to everyone.
Director Poston.
I also attended the West Side Musical, and like Karen said, just a fabulous performance. It's so nice to attend an event and see so much energy and enthusiasm, and congratulations to the students and the staff.
Any other board reports? Seeing none, we will move on to communications. Open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The open forum request is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or online for those who want to participate in open forum virtually. The link is located on the school board page of the district's web page. For those who want to participate virtually, the request must be emailed to Brenda T at Davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak during open forum. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community during open forum. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. Anyone not in attendance but wishing to speak at open forum, call 563-445-5001 and enter the conference ID. That's only if you've submitted your request to the board secretary before 3. All right. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
I'd like to pull item 6.03 for further discussion.
Okay. So we will go with the motion with items 6.01 and 6.02, and then we will discuss 6.03. Director Hayes.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Did I do that right?
We need a new motion.
Right. I don't think we need a second to that.
Second?
No. No. Nope. I'm pretty sure I checked it. Yeah. All right, so The motion is for the consent agenda with items 6.01 and 6.02 only. That is the only thing we're voting on right now. Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. You just got to make sure you note that in the minutes. All right. Item 6.03. What did you want to have a discussion on, Director Poston?
Do we have to make a motion on?
Or can I have a motion on? You're right. Item 603 of the consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board adopt item 6.03.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Snyder. Discussion. Director Poston.
Well, first, I'd like to call on Superintendent Snakeloth to explain some of the reasoning on some of the salary increases, and then also on the new position, and what the thought process is behind that.
I'll start with the salary increases, and thank you for that. What you're seeing on here is a direct result from the reorganization that was required by the Department of Education. In our reorganization, you'll notice that it's the critical part to the structure is having a horizontal alignment that goes across, and it's very critical as we move forward that each one of those positions be balanced in every way. And so on the onboarding process of hiring our instructional leadership director and director of learning and results, the salary that came in, it's critical that those, and the board felt that it's critical that those salaries be equal. And so the reasoning for those being on the agenda today is such. I believe the position that you're talking about next, Director Poston, is the pandemic response officer. So the pandemic response coordinator, with this position, I want you to think about, we are now responding. The pandemic is in a spot to where next year we will have unfinished learning. We will be continuing to provide safe environments for our students. So we're now responding to the pandemic, and that name can sometimes be confusing, but I wanted to kind of set the tone for that. We're now moving forward afterwards. This position comes at the direction of the Department of Education. It's solely funded out of our ESSER funds, which over the course of the next 3 years, Davenport schools will get around $69 million. This is a one-year only position. The position components are like I said before, we are responding to the things that happened and helping students with their unfinished learning. This person will oversee our summer school, our online efforts, assist with potential massive amounts of hiring that need to happen, partner with community agents because as we go through this, it can be an excellent opportunity for that the saying, never squander a good crisis, so we can utilize our funding as we move forward in a better process. Facilitate ESSER-related expenditures while we are onboarding a brand new cabinet into brand new positions. And I want to make it crystal clear that the people in charge of those funds are Mr. Poscani and myself and our other leaders. This person's helping facilitate that, working closely with the cabinet members as they're being onboarded. The position, I want to make some other notes. This position was posted internally. And the reasoning behind that is because we need to be able to onboard, we need to be able to know the system, we need to be able to move effectively inside. So that position was posted internally, and anybody had an opportunity to apply. All internal candidates had that were qualified had that opportunity. The hiring process was vetted through the Department of Education and the AEA and conducted here in collaboration with the AEA and the Davenport Community School District. And so that's an overview of that position.
Director Potts.
I just have a question. I don't know if you've addressed this already or not, but the salary is paid out of the general fund or elsewhere?
That is 100% out of ESSER.
Do you have any other questions or any other discussion? Director Poston?
Well, just a couple comments. As far as the increase in salaries and wanting to get all cabinet members at the same level, I'm questioning that. And we're talking about huge increases here. And when you look at, we gave out increases to other employees that amounted to 2 to 7 cents an hour. And so these increases, and again, I don't want these three individuals to take this personally. They have been a godsend to the district. I mean, they have been have really turned things around, and so I thank them for that. But when you look at, we keep talking about we don't have the funds, yet we're making these types of increases that really bothers me. And then as far as the pandemic response coordinator, again, we've done all this reorganization, and yet partly to eliminate some positions, but here we're creating another position. I do understand that we have $69 million of ESSER funds to spend, and I guess you can justify that position, but again, we're creating another position. Granted, it's just for correct. It's just for a year, correct? Okay. But again, going back to the other positions and the huge increases, I really have a problem with that. I don't want to go down the same path as previous boards have done. And, when you talk about the increases, there's been comments made, well, that's just a drop in the bucket for a $200 million budget. But, if you keep thinking about that on all areas of the Davenport Community School District, it adds up. And so I think from a financial standpoint, we need to pinch the pennies. And I think also the perception of what we gave teachers and hourly employees, again, I have a hard time with that.
Any other discussion? I have one question. Okay, so the Department of Ed recommended this position. Say that position got voted down, it would be the potential they would still hire it through the AEA, and then we would have to pay that plus probably an upcharge to utilize the AEA for doing the service.
Correct.
Is that okay? All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Poston.
No.
Director Potts.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board adopt the bills from the bill listing periods of May 5th, 2021 to May 18th, 2021. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the treasurer, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of May 5th, 2021 to May 18th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Is there any discussion? Director Kleindrome.
Can I just ask a question? Kent, are you looking at like pulling out certain checks and going, we used to do it and see it. I think it got turned over to you. Is that correct?
Yes, but I haven't got anything lately from Brenda. I'm looking at the superintendent's credit card.
But we used to pull out several checks and it was supposed to then go to Kent. So I just want to make sure that's getting done.
Is that the one that I get every week?
Yeah, you used to do it.
What's that? Okay. Oh, okay, okay. I was gonna say, that's the thing that you send me every week, right? And then I pick.
But it
the
used
check.
to show up on our board agenda. We would see it.
Oh, it doesn't.
It's
Oh,
not on there.
okay.
That's what I'm asking about.
Okay.
Just to make sure it's getting done, we are no longer seeing it.
Is it just been on this one?
No, several.
Okay. Brenda, can you make a note to look into that? Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder,
Yes.
Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Klein-Jerome,
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Superintendent report.
I think sitting in front of you, there's a periscope and a face mask for you for graduation. The periscope is a certificate for my IESB because May is School Board Member Month, and I just want you guys to know how appreciated you are. If anybody could ever step behind the curtain and see all of the work that each and every single one of you could go around the table and talk about all the wonderful work that you do. So thank you for what you do. You're much appreciated, and your work does not go unnoticed. Thank you.
Committee reports. Finance Committee. How do you guys want? Do I turn it over to Kent and then Kent calls on? Because Kent's the chair, right?
But he's pointing to Kevin.
So if you guys want to turn it over to me, I can kind of start it off, and then from there turn it over to either Kent or Karen or Kevin. Let's go with that route.
Mr. Superintendent.
We had some great conversations at our last finance committee. Really starting to get into I will say a groove with the things that we're reviewing and going over in our finance committee. We're really starting to hit the main numbers inside of this report, and we're starting to dig into Forecast 5 and some of the other analytics that are answering questions for us. And so the monthly report for this one and it is quite optimistic for me. The other thing from our finance committee is that we are working diligently to put together the 5-year projections. So as I had mentioned to the board members the other day, that to our finance committee, that we spent an entire afternoon with Gary Sinclair and Kevin and his team to start realistically putting in numbers, and we got information from the finance committee. So as you know, the finance committee makes recommendations to the school board, and from there we're building that budget. We're going to have another finance committee, which the finance committee agreed to review those 5-year projections. And I will tell you, it is incredibly positive. It's uplifting to see what 5 years from now looks like. Some of the things that we brainstormed, what we're going to have to professionally develop about, are completely different about the conversations we're having now. So I'm very excited for that, for what's coming. And so Kevin's going to continue to do this report here on a monthly basis. But what we've got coming up is our 5-year projections, hopefully to present that pretty soon. So Kevin.
Okay, this first document that you see on there is our statement of revenues expenditures. In the general fund, you'll see this is for April 30th, and that is 83.3% of the way through the year. Keep that number in mind when you look at these numbers. Total revenue, we're sitting at 82% of the for the year, which is a little bit behind. But as of Friday and today, we received over $2 million from categorical funds through the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa has been a little bit slower in a reimbursement perspective. So that, while last month I mentioned about the local revenue lagging behind because of the April tax receipts, that's corrected, but there's a little bit of state and federal funding that's still coming our way, and that will be caught up in May. So you'll see that we're 82% of the way through the year with our revenue. And if you slide down on the expenditure side, you'll see that we're 80% through our expenditures. You'll notice in the prior years we're sitting at 83, 78, and 81 before, so we're really doing a pretty good job of holding on our expenditure side. So that's good news. As TJ was mentioning, that's good. And then I think is there a page there on page 2? You'll see our revenues and so forth if you go all the way to the bottom of that page. These are our other funds, and I wanted to point to our nutrition and our out of school time fund. We know those are negative. That is on purpose because we maintained our staffing when we had fewer kids eating. So we had less revenue. We will be using ESSER funds to correct that. We'll be requesting the board take action on June 21st, I believe, is our last June meeting. We're working on getting a hard estimate for where we're going to end the year in the food nutrition fund. We'll be doing the exact same thing on the out of school time as well. So that will be an agenda item that requires board action and identify amounts to transfer. Any questions on the year to date?
I'm not seeing none.
Okay.
I think you knocked it out of the park.
Okay. I can show the monthly reporting. The other report that's on there is for the month of April. There we go. You'll see this is where I always talk about trends. You'll see that our unspent balance ratio is sitting at about 4%. A comfortable level is 5 to 15%. That is what's projected for the end of the year. Keep in mind, from 5.4 to 4%, June is a heavy month when we do our accruals for the end of the year. That's why it's a 4% estimate. It's still good. When you look at prior years, we were -6, -4. We don't want to see negatives in there. So this is a good start. On our general fund, on our unspent balance, our expenditures to date at 97% projected. We want to keep that below 100 because if you're over 100, you're overspending your budget. And you'll notice that most of the years prior were over 100%. So that is helping correct prior years' overages. And then our solvency ratio is the next one. You'll see it's at about 11.5%. That's a good target to be at. That's healthy. Prior years were less than 5%, and being between that 5 and 15% again is where we need to be. So seeing a trend going that direction, we need to see another year and another year to be comfortable. But we are doing the heavy work, and what has been done lately has been, you can see the numbers starting to pan out here.
Director Beck.
Just a quick question. I know you've addressed this before, but for the percent of our UAB used, what would be sort of a good number so that you have some money for rainy day funds? I mean, if in an ideal world, what percentage would we want to see?
If we were in a perfect situation, I would say we'd have the right cash as well, but also having about $30 million of an unspent balance. Okay. That sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking a budget that size, it's really that's where you need to be. In fact, we had this conversation with Gary. I don't think it was at the finance committee, but another meeting. And we were talking about this, and he agreed with me on that. So 30 million would be a good target to be at and to sustain. If you're below it and above it and below, that's okay, but at least it gives you that rainy day fund.
Great, thank you.
Was that it? Mr. Superintendent.
One of the other things that we discussed in our finance committee are the administrative non-bargaining salaries that are coming in there. And one of the fabulous things that we utilize for making some of those decisions, we're at Forecast 5. The Forecast 5 allows us to, the reports that we were looking at when we were making some of our decisions about the reorganization decisions and some of these administrative non-bargaining decisions, were those data points where what is it that we spend per pupil. And I think as we move forward, I think it's going to be incredibly important, and we talked about this at the finance committee, is to get some of those data points in front of the school board. What do we spend? The report shows what is it that we spend per pupil, and then what do we look like for the rest of the state? And paraeducators, secretaries, administrators, teachers, and things of that nature. It's very valuable, and I think it would be helpful, committee of the whole report, or moving forward, something to put on a board agenda for us to see, because I think you might be surprised at what you see on some of those reports. So I think that's informing. That will help allow us to make better decisions. It'll help allow us to forecast. It'll help allow us to do to be a more informed decision-making group. So.
Director Snyder.
As far as the LZAC committee, we met in person earlier this month, and I just wanted to review a couple things that came out of that LZAC meeting. We started off the meeting, discussed the administrative changes that are going on in the district. We talked about CRVP and the youth leadership training, and Jake talked about the training, and Sherry, our LZAC committee member who's principal at Wood, both of them talked about how the kids are excited about their opportunity for a big person role of helping. They also pointed out something in regards to CRVP that you can't really collect data on, and that's the CRVP that's when it's working, it doesn't turn into a situation. So when it doesn't turn into a situation, there's really nothing to report. An example they gave, when you see a kid hand off a book bag, another kid holds up a cell phone, starts recording, that's a very good indicator something's about to go down. Teachers see that, they jump on it, squash it, and it's no longer a situation. So when you have things like that, it is an indicator that the CRVP program is working, but there's no data to back that up because it never became a situation. So it's important to keep those things in mind. We talked about the administrative restructuring and the, how it's feeder oriented.
Committee report.
There was also a question in there as far as like the feeders. Some of the elementaries that are listed as going to the middles don't go to those middles. But I'm sure that was kind of like the initial rollout. So also talked about youth leadership and getting the kids out of venues that they're like normal daily routines and getting them into other settings that they wouldn't otherwise see as a part of this program. As our board is evolving, so is this LZAC committee, and they want to be an integral part of the changes going on in the district. And it's also, we talked about how this committee needs to represent the community thoroughly as ambassadors of our district who are focused purely and solely on improvement and moving forward. And hopefully next month, we will have the charge before us that we can look at and then vote on. Basically just agrees as the board that that is how we want to work with the LZAC and communicate, so that we have constant dialogue between the board and the LZAC, so that we don't repeat the past to where one doesn't really know what the other one's doing. Because if they're not complementing each other, it's not working.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Hang on one second. You kind of jumped ahead of me. Are there any questions for the Finance Committee? All right. Are there any questions for the LZAC Committee? Karen, and then you, Director Beck.
I would just like to see 9.02, because Jamie's always got a report to give, and so under committee reports, if that would always be part of it.
It's supposed to be for committees, and then I would have called on the committees like I normally do with policy and stuff. It's just when you guys have Finance Committee usually has like a spreadsheet or something.
Oh, okay, got
That's kind of why that's in there. So then it's something that we know there's something to pop up and look at.
Okay.
Director Beck, you had
Well, I was just going to elaborate on one of the points that Director Snyder made when we discussed the community voice that committee brings. One of the things that came up was the overlap between the groups that Dr. Klipsch has been forming and working with on the CRVP and the people that we want to hear from in that advisory capacity, right? And that, you know, there's a chance for us to work together there. This LCAC is going to be present in perpetuity. CRVP may not be, depending on the situation, right? And so there's a chance for some overlap there to sort of streamline the process. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for LZAC Committee? Director Beck, do you have anything for Policy Committee?
Policy Committee is scheduled to meet on Thursday at 5:30 to go forward with some of our next ones. And then we're starting background research work on some of our more, I guess I would call them the more philosophical policies on student discipline and the philosophy of the district, now that we have our CRVP stuff rolled out.
Thank you. Director Poston, did you have a question?
Yeah, just for Director Beck and the Policy Committee. At one time, I visited with you. I'd like to see the Policy Committee look into developing a policy concerning sales of assets in the district.
So actually, thank you for reminding me that I meant to address that with you. We have a policy in place right now called disposition of assets, but the committee has put it on the agenda to look at in the future. So before we're done with this policy manual review. So we'll be updating it.
Well, just some input from my perspective. You know, I'd like to see a policy that's developed that all assets of the district that are sold to the highest bidder.
We will put that on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other committee reports? Seeing none, I'll move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on item 10.01?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the 3-year contract with Edgenuity as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Snyder?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.02?
Mr. President.
Who got it first? Director Potts.
I move the board approve the administration's recommendation of the Netrix proposal for the DCSD for VM Wave Host, SAN upgrade, guest and exchange Skype mitigation at a cost of $209,162.10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Director Klein Jerome.
This includes our email system, is that correct? Okay. We purchase all things Google, correct? Okay, and Gmail is part of that. And since we're already paying Google and Gmail, could somebody explain to me why we're paying to upgrade a system that's not Gmail?
So this system does not preclude us from moving to Gmail. So whether or not we are moving forward with whichever one of those systems, we need this server, 100%. So the philosophical, should we move to Gmail? There's a lot that goes into that conversation, because I dug in and asked the same exact question for myself, because from an educator standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to do that. And then we have a business standpoint as well. And so we have been talking about that subject for a long time. And what we need to do is have that conversation, make a move or not make a move at a time when it doesn't overwhelm the system. So the change to Google was scheduled to happen this December. That would have been complete. Think about the December that we just had. That would have been completely overwhelming. So this you look, Gary. I'll look at you, Gary, when he starts shaking his head, come up to the microphone. But this system does not preclude us. This upgrade is necessary for us for a district that we have, and it does not preclude us from making that decision. So we're not purchasing something that will stop us. We need this right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Beck.
I was going to ask a similar question, because I know we'd had discussions about moving to Zoom for meeting platforms. And that's, again, same type of thing where we just can't do it right now, and we need to. Oh, cool. Thanks, Gary.
That one I don't have.
Okay.
So the question on the floor is our ability to.
Push the button.
Excuse me, sorry. These tech things always kind of mess me up. The question on the floor is our ability to move to Zoom.
Yeah, I know we had sort of discussed looking into that, because there were some functionalities in Zoom for meetings like this that we didn't have with the Skype platform. And I'm guessing that that's kind of like what TJ just said about the Gmail thing. It's just not something we can do right now.
Yeah. The current status is that we are in the process of purchasing Zoom license right now, so that we'll have that to use. And then the second phase of that was a proposal we made to make our boardroom capable of running that product just like we run Skype and have all the opportunities on it. And that was put on hold while we went through the budget things that we did. It was so we're in forward motion on both of those things.
Okay, and so doing this doesn't preclude us from investigating. Okay.
TJ was spot on with his understanding of the situation there. We have a lot of things that are pivoting off of this equipment, and email is one that is most challenged, or at least most public facing. All the things that are going on back there, these machines are just chugging really hard. We need to get upgrades in there as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? The only thing, Director Hayes.
Probably for Kevin. Can you tell us what funds these will come from?
Great question. We inquired, we'll have to get approval, but we have between 25 and 33% of this amount that we're going to request to use ESSER funds. I think that was brought up last meeting. We have to put it on CASA to get approval, but we'll do that. Otherwise, it's going to come out of PEPAL funds or SAVE funds.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, I'm going to support this thing, but I don't like the Skype word. I want to see ZOOM. Skype sucks.
It was never meant to be a trigger word.
It was. You heard that on record. Skype sucks. All right, no other discussion. I'm going to call for the vote. Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.03?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the use of electronic contracts, e-contracts, beginning with contracts issued for the 21-22 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion?
Just a comment, it's about time. This is great.
Getting with the 21st century, not like writing a checkbook.
Checkbook, yeah, I know.
I think we're getting with the 20th century with this one.
All right. Any other discussion? Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.05, or wait, 10.04?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the total package increase of 1.5% for the non-bargaining and administrative employees groups as previously discussed for the 21-22 fiscal year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.05?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve policies recommended by the Policy Committee, policies 402.06, 404, 408.02, 408.03, 410.02, 410.04, 501.01, 501.02, 501.04, 501.06, 501.07, 501.08, 501.09, 501.11, and 501.12.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Snyder. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Discussion items. 11.01 Food and Nutrition Commercial Sandwich Bread and Buns. Turn that over to you, Mr. Superintendent.
It's going to be the Connie Dobbles show here for the next couple.
It's cracking me up that it's
Discussion
broken
item.
down by food groups.
Yeah. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you for having me. I guess I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have on the bid proposals. For the first one is our commercial bread. We do have a central bakery for the district, but we do not actually make like hamburger buns and hot dog buns through that bakery, so that's what we use this contract for. We really only had one official bid that was submitted. We sent it out to 5 different vendors. Yes.
Just out of curiosity, how often do we send these out for bid?
The 3 that I have with me tonight, we send them out for initial 1-year bid, but we have the opportunity to renew it for 2 additional years, which gives us a total of 3 years.
Okay. And then, yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember seeing these before, and so that kind of makes sense.
So I was going to say I was here about 3 years ago.
Yeah, and I've only been on the board for almost 4 years, so perfect. Can you explain why they're broken down by food group? I mean, I guess a baking company doesn't necessarily send milk. The proposals you have here, like you have a bread one, you have a milk.
Yes. The vendor specifically does bread.
Okay.
So we, and better to, I guess, meet our financial needs, it makes more sense to individualize these specific ones because of the dollar amount. Technically, we could get these through our commercial or our main prime vendor, but that contract itself is already $2 million. So us separating these can get us better pricing on these particular items.
Okay. And have we ever baked bread in-house?
We do all of our homemade dinner rolls are made in-house, and it's at least 51% whole grain, which is required by the USDA. So we do that in-house. Again, we don't have the equipment to do buns.
That's what I was going to ask about. Okay.
Hang on a second. Director Snyder, and then I'll get you Director Poston.
Where does this 64,000 come in compared to what we have under contract this year?
This is actually pretty equivalent to what we're currently spending.
Okay.
Director Poston.
Would you have any idea why you sent out to 5 vendors and only 2 responded? Do you have any idea why more didn't respond?
The word on the street is that Bimbo Bakeries is no longer targeting school districts because they are entering more in commercial and they're picking up a lot of Casey's businesses. So they have kind of moved away. As far as Panic Gold, we used to have them. I'm not sure why they're no longer interested in our business here in the Quad Cities. And in fact, the previous bid that we had with Alpha, they had a lower bid than Panic Gold, and then they didn't bid for us this time. So I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is. Martin Brothers is a new vendor through State Commodities, so I did ask for their information. It did come in quite more expensive than Alpha, and it would have been all frozen bread products that we could only get in once a week. Right now, Alpha is delivering to our production kitchens twice a week, so that makes a difference on freshness, we feel, and quality. And Reinhardt would have been the same as Martin Brothers. They just didn't have interest in meeting our needs for that.
How far away from the Quad City area do you normally go to take bids, or is it just the immediate area?
No, they're actually, I believe the Bimbo one, those bids actually come from North Carolina. Oh. Our Alpha is actually, all of our bread is baked in Chicago area, so they drive down in trucks to provide for us.
Was that it, Director Poston? Any other questions? My question is, you said we don't have the capability of making the hamburger buns. What would it take to have the capability to do that?
A much larger kitchen. Like, I'm talking our ovens right now, like you can walk into the oven. It has a rotating rack because that's how we have to do our dinner rolls. We only have one of those ovens to do all of our muffin tops, which is a kid's favorite, and those dinner rolls. So we would have to get larger equipment to do that in order to meet our needs, because we have hamburger and hot dog buns on the menu a couple of times a week. That's why we get a couple of deliveries in.
Okay.
There's a potential for increased staff and labor as well. And then we would have to transport that to each school in our vans. And we're currently doing that with the muffin tops and dinner rolls, but it would be a much larger process.
Okay. Thank you. It would be cool to see it done locally, but I get it. Any other discussion on this one? So since she's up here for these other ones, you just want to roll through the other ones? Are you guys good with that? And then as you have questions? Food and nutrition and milk. We'll let you knock all the topics out while you're right there.
You skipped pizza.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Don't let me skip the commercial pizza. We better do that one first.
And I remember when I was here several years ago, you were very excited about me bringing pizza backs.
Yeah. My kid tells me that all the time.
The kids love it. So we are actually expanding our pizza, and just to point out that we will be doing pizza in the high schools. on Mondays and Fridays. And this year, just to help our staff, and because we've been having so many issues with getting our food that we need and want, that we have Papa John's actually delivering to our intermediate schools on Wednesday. Of course, it had raving reviews, and it's not surprising at all that the kids really want the pizza. So, being a dietitian, you know, I want to make sure that we are still providing a well-balanced, nourishing meal for our students, but we also want to have increased participation, because increased participation also helps drive our numbers and helps with our finances. So we want to give the kids what they want.
Director Klein-Jerome. Oh, I'll get you next, Director Potts.
I would sacrifice, but I would volunteer to be on that blind taste test results if you need extra help. I saw that and I'm like, I want that job.
The students absolutely love it. And this year when we did it, as we were doing it, they only had like A, B, C, D. And so they didn't know, but they were constantly trying to guess what the pizzas were, what company had brought those pizzas in. At the end, I did tell them what they were. So, but they get very excited about that taste testing.
Director Potts.
On the pizza, am I correct that the pizzas that we get for the purposes of our school lunches are not the same as the pizza you would get if you went to Papa John's?
That is correct.
Why don't you explain?
Our contract is different because the USDA requires us to have that 51% whole grain of 100% of our items. So this contract actually states that we have to have the whole grain crust. So Papa John's brings in literally pizza crust just for Davenport schools and any other school in the area that is utilizing their commercial pizza bid through Papa John's, or any of the companies actually. So they also have to meet the meat and meat alternative requirements. So whenever we receive the pizza, we actually have to take out a slice and weigh the cheese and meat toppings to make sure that it meets the 2 ounce required by the USDA. So one slice of pizza. So if I am in a school, I'll say I'll take that slice. But they do weigh the bread or the crust to make sure it meets the 2 ounces. Anytime that we have had a discrepancy, Papa John's is very willing to come out and replace the pizzas, because sometimes they get miscut and then we can't serve them to our students. So they've been very responsive to any of our needs whenever there's been an issue.
Maybe we'll get Shaq to come out to one of our schools.
Those pizzas fly out the door.
They do. And anytime we have leftovers, we can serve them the next day as a part of our breakfast program. That is allowable. So we do utilize any leftovers. I know years past, and one of the reasons why they did away with the pizza program years ago was because any leftovers they had, they let staff take them home. So I'm like, no, we can actually utilize any leftovers. So so we make sure that we always have plenty for the students during lunch, and then sometimes they get it for breakfast the next day, and some students will come in and just get a slice of pizza for breakfast the next day.
All right. No more questions on that one. Now we can go to food, nutrition, and milk.
Okay. So this is the first year that we had actual another response from Anderson Erickson. The last time I came, there was only the one from Prairie Farms, and we, like I was gonna say, it's unusual. I don't know why one year they decide to bid or submit a proposal and some years they don't. So I don't have an answer for that, but we were surprised to get one from Anderson Erickson. We were disappointed that it was so much more. And then I think included in your agendas were the matrix or the rubrics that we use to be able to assign points to all those. So if you had any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Director Klein-Jerome.
Okay, I have a question, but not about this, but about the program in general. You say you make your own, like, buns and things like that, and you used to sell that. What stopped that? I mean, was it not making money for the program, or like you could buy cookies and
Right.
dinner rolls and all that stuff?
At the time, I think that they had reduced some of the labor, and when you reduce labor, then we weren't able to meet those, and that was considered extra. We wanted to focus on students. That was prior to me being here, and that's something that, with the changes in no longer having DLC in that same, or the Keystone Academy in that DLC building, now there might be time for us to revisit that, and that's some discussions that we've been having in my office. So.
That's a good discussion to have.
Yes.
It was good stuff.
Yes, it was.
Yes, she talks about the cookies all the time. All the time. Any other, Director Potts?
Does the strawberry milk cost more than the other milks?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that explains that's rationed, isn't it, when it
Yes.
comes to the building?
Unfortunately, this year, because of COVID, they shut down that strawberry milk line, so that's why we were not able to have it at all during the school year. On a normal school year, we dedicate 1 week throughout the month to have strawberry milk, and I know that's a fan favorite as well, but it's about 5 cents more per carton.
Okay.
And when you see we're...
Because it disappears. We had to ration it for each lunch period.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Seeing if we had an FFA program, we could have dairy cows and just be doing it in-house.
We could grow the strawberries too.
There you go. All right. And that's everything for her, right?
Mr. President.
Oh, Director Poston.
I don't know if this would be allowable right now, but since we have you here, I was intrigued by when I visited Truman and the breakfast program. Could you, if this would be allowable, could you just explain that a little bit in the schools that are involved?
All right. Right now, we have about 10 elementary schools that are participating in breakfast in the classroom. And basically what happens are when the students come into school, they pick up breakfast items, take them into the classroom, and they start their day with the food in the classroom. And they'll turn in their homework, they're eating, they're listening to morning announcements, they're calming down, and it's been a huge benefit to several of the schools that have implemented it this year during COVID.
You know what? Let's put this on our next regular agenda because I think it is teetering on that.
Perfect.
So I believe that this is an incredibly powerful message about the impact that breakfast has on our students and how our buildings have found pretty unique ways as you have learned through your building visits, Mr. Poston. So let's put this on a board agenda.
Absolutely, and I would
Does
love...
that suffice?
And just for some more background then, and how would we be able to get more schools involved?
Absolutely, and I'd love for Gina Engstrom, the district nurse, to join me to present next time because she feels very passionately about this program as well.
Perfect. Now the stuff that she had presented to us, do you have any other questions? Because this stuff will be on the agenda at the next regular meeting to vote on. Anybody need any more information to be able to vote on anything? Just some cookies, right? Director Beck.
Actually, I do have a question. Because I know there's no leftover pizza, but I'm going to guess that occasionally there's some leftover milk. And because we have to order a certain number of units, students may not drink it all or whatever. And same with buns, right? So what happens to that stuff?
Well, the milk, when they bring our next delivery, they pick up any milk and we get credit for the milk that's not used if it's outdated. So they actually pick that up anytime that there's an issue. I know a few years ago there was sour milk, so we pulled that whole crate out and they credit us back for that. So when they're dropping it, they're picking it up. As far as the bread goes, we can freeze that to utilize it at a later time. So there is practically no waste.
Okay, good. That's what I want to hear, is that we're not throwing it away.
Absolutely, no.
Thank you, Connie.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item of discussion is 11.04. Mr. Superintendent, I'll turn it over to you.
So Gary, if you want to come up and explain this.
So AirCore is our partner in wireless communications and network communications throughout the district. We pretty much standardized on the AirCore/Aruba product. This is an annual renewal for the costs of keeping maintenance going on these products so that we can have the spares and the access to technological help when things go wacky. For example, last year we upgraded our wireless routers pretty much throughout the district, and these things were real rocket ships as far as doing the kinds of things we need to make our network work. However, there were some problems in getting that configured, and it took us about 2 weeks to get on top of that. And once we were able to determine what that was, AirCore was able to help us come in and really turn that on, and we have not had a single complaint about our wireless connectivity or our speed. It's really doing everything it should for us. So this is part of our annual maintenance to keep all of the product in good trim.
Any board members have questions? Seeing none, knocked it out of the park, Gary. All right, next item is the IJAG contract.
I think you saw the presentation from earlier today, so now's the opportunity to have a further discussion.
Does anyone have any Director Beck?
I was just going to say, this seems like a pretty good value. So,
did any board members have any okay, Director Pasha?
Just where it says quantity 6, is that related to how many school buildings are involved? Is that what that is?
I believe that's the number of FTE
specialists.
Specialists, I think they call them.
Oh,
Any other questions? I'm assuming this will be on the next regular board meeting to vote on this contract. Anyone need any other information to feel comfortable to make a vote? Seeing none. All right, now we are on to 11.06. I'll turn it over to you, Director Beck.
Okay, so we have our next set of policies. These are all related to students. They're pretty straightforward. I'll start with policy 501.02, non-resident students. This is just pretty standard what Iowa State says about paying tuition if you enroll, and it doesn't matter what the open enrollment rules are. This still applies. And then it also says that students who are in grades 11 or 12 who move out of the district, whose families move out of the district, can stay where they were without paying tuition, so they can graduate from those schools. Any questions on that? Okay. The next one is policy 501.16. And again, actually, did I skip one? Nope. Okay. Policy 501.16, and this one is also standard language about homeless children and youth. It's a mandatory policy. We actually are not changing anything. It's what the law says we need to have, and that we have to provide, or where we can find it, where you can find information detailing the guidelines, the federal guidelines on homeless children and youth. Okay. The next one is 502.01, student appearance. This one is, has, as you can imagine, a lot of administrative regulations. It has gone through many of them. What we found is that previously we have put a lot of language, our district has put a lot of language in this policy that actually should be administrative regulations, and so we've pulled that out. So now it is a broad policy of, basically anything that disrupts learning, clothing that promotes illegal products or acts, clothing that contains explicit, violent, or suggestive sexual content, and clothing that is deemed obscene or profane. And, you know, the definitions therein are subject to administrative regulation and obviously will change as needed. Yes, Director Snyder.
I just wanted to point out, there's one paragraph in there that you can see is struck out, and it's not that we don't want, you know, students to show up to school clean, ready to go. Some of them having clothes in good repair, blah, 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 however that's worded, that's not an option for some kids. So, you know, it needs to be inclusive, not exclusive.
Yeah. And that is the only significant change from the IASB language and from our current policy now, other than taking out administrative regulation stuff. We agreed that it would be better to welcome everyone rather than make anyone feel excluded if they potentially might be. Any questions? Thank you for reminding me about that. Okay. The next one is 502.02, care of school property. Basically, this is pretty basic. It says you may be required to reimburse the district if you damage district property, and that this is subject to the operating procedures will be under administrative regulation, and that the superintendent and the principals, I did just notice it says in conjunction with the principal, Brenda, but it should say principals, plural. Yeah. To develop administrative rules regarding this policy. So basically, don't break stuff. Yeah, Karen.
Is there like a list of standard, okay, so I lost a book at West, am I paying the same fine as at Central versus McKinley versus do we have it says you're going to develop administrative rules. Who sets the fines and what it's going to cost to replace whatever it is?
That's an excellent question. So it would actually be, that would not fall under board policy because that's more of a day-to-day operating type of procedure. So that would fall to the superintendent. But I think that's a great question to ask and to find out if we have consistency across schools, because I think that would be really important.
I mean, I just don't want to see every building have something different. And
yeah,
if I break a Chromebook, am I paying for it? And if I'm paying the same price no matter where I am?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Also, to make sure that we don't have any discriminatory
equity issues,
language in those.
Good point.
Yeah.
I will tell you that's on Mr. Post County's list. Are our fees and things of that nature. We definitely need to be tightening that up.
Okay. Well, and we happen to have policy 503.03 right now that says that we can charge fines and fees for said things. Again, this is a mandatory policy, however, so we have to have a policy that says we may charge fees for things. But again, it's the superintendent. And again, Brenda, this one says in conjunction with the principal, singular, and it should be plural in the last line, to develop administrative regulations. So those go hand in hand, and we'll make sure that gets done. Karen, do you want to write a board request for that, or you want me to?
Well, it does, hold on a minute. It does say right on there, superintendent will inform the board of the dollar amount to be charged to students or other fines, charges, and fees annually. So it sounds like the superintendent just shares it with us.
Okay. Any other questions on that one, the fines and fees or vandalism? It's suddenly very quiet in here. Okay. The next one is the weapons policy 502.06. Again, this is a mandatory policy. We basically used the language that's in the IASB policy because it matches Iowa law. So Questions? Okay. All right, and then the last one is, oh, sorry, we have two more. No, last one. 502.09, interviews of students by outside agencies. This generally applies to students who are being interviewed for, as part of, say, a criminal investigation by a police officer, or someone who is investigating allegations of child abuse. So we're not talking about media interviews. We're talking about interviews that are private, and the school is the place where they can reach the child. And so basically, this policy reflects the generally accepted practice of school districts. It fits what we generally do. We do not generally allow that unless it's, for example, in the case of a child abuse investigation, it may be more appropriate to interview the child without the parents present. And so that would be a situation where it would be allowed.
Do we have a policy then that, if, let's say, the Quad City Times or Channel 6 wanted to come and interview our students, that we would?
So when you register, you have a media release form that you have to sign as part of that registration each year.
Which is also agreeing to allow a reporter to talk to a student other than publish the picture?
That's a good question.
I always understood it to be just the picture
I don't know.
taking.
I think it's just the picture taking.
I think it is too.
Okay,
we
so
can look into that.
Yeah, what is our policy if somebody comes to our building and wants to interview a student?
Okay. I will make a note to investigate that as part of policy. Any other questions? Director Snyder?
I know this doesn't really help, but we did have, and I believe it was just an administrative reg, that basically no students were allowed to talk to any media unless Dawn Saul at the time was there, who happened to be the person in that position. But now that I'm back on the board, I don't know what the practice is, but I know she had to be present for each and every interview.
Okay. And I know they don't just pull students aside, you know, they're not in a school without permission, but I know there was a couple students interviewed for the paper the other day. So we'll see if we need a policy or at least shore up the administrative regulations on that. All right, so we'll see these again at our next regular meeting for our second discussion. Oh, no, I already did fines, fees, and charges.
Okay.
Yeah, I skipped to it because it was part of the vandalism one, so that's a mandatory policy, so there's not really, we're just gonna have, make sure that it's consistent across buildings. All right, so we'll see these again in 2 weeks at our next regular meeting or whenever that might be.
Perfect. Thank you, Director Beck.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any board requests?
Yes.
Any other board requests? All right. Name a board member making a request. Director Beck. Data request May 24, 2021. Item requested, a request for information. Description of request. I would like to see a financial breakdown of moving our bread baking in-house and or finding a local vendor to do the baking. Why are you making this request? We found out that we purchase bread from elsewhere, and while we can't necessarily stipulate location, bringing this service in-house may lower our carbon footprint in transportation and or provide local jobs. When would you like this? Whenever feasible. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. All right. Seeing no other board requests, administrative reports.
Not at this time.
There never is. All right. It's everybody's favorite time. Should I make Director Klein Jerome go last and start with Director Potts?
Yeah, go for it.
Director Potts.
I would say the one highlight that I will highlight is the IJAG report. because I think that gives us feedback on a program we have on our building that doesn't cost us a lot of money, that actually creates employable students. And that's a gift to these children. It's a gift to them. And it also helps out our local businesses, and especially his comments on Hy-Vee. 2 of my last 3 months worked at Hy-Vee, and I'll tell you, there's not a better place for a kid who's involved in school to work at. They work, and they gave a flexible schedule for kids so this IJAG program is just what the doctor ordered. It matches very nicely with our tech programs out at West, too.
Thank you, Director Potts. Director Snyder.
Well, I would say IJAG as well, but Bruce already talked about it, so I'll talk about the Creative Arts Academy. That it's good to see the kids back at our board meetings. That's the one thing I miss the most is our, seeing the kids back here to present what they're doing. The Creative Arts Academy, it's good to see that it's still thriving. I had concerns when it left downtown, but for no other reason than why it was put downtown originally. But it's good to see it's thriving, and a lot of good things happening there.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Director Hayes.
I would actually select a combination of both of them. The IJAG program is technically totally in line with our vision statement, and you can actually see the fruits of our labor with that. With the creative arts, it's nice it seems like for the last year and a half, we come to meetings, we do our business, and that kind of puts proper perspective on why we're really here. It's really lighthearted to see the kids enjoying themselves and just watching them grow and turn into productive adults, to know that during this period of their lives that you're actually making decisions to assist them. And I just kind of like to see, rather than making decisions all day, that you can actually see what you're deciding upon. So it was a very nice opener for the day for me.
Thank you, Director Hayes. Director Klein Jerome.
I'm glad through this very tough transitional year for everybody that the arts are alive and well in the district. North High put on a musical, West put on a musical, the Creative Arts Academy. It's not always so academic focused. Some of these students need that outlet for the arts, and it's very nice to see that it is doing well in our district.
Thank you, Director Postian.
Well, so many times we have to focus on the negative, and so it's refreshing to see the positive things from IJAG to the Career Arts Academy, the musical that I attended the other night. It just shows that there are a lot of positive things going on, and there's a lot of things going on in this district that are not available in other districts, and I think that just puts us above other districts in that area.
Thank you. Director Beck.
I think, I agree with what everyone said. The dance performance we saw at first, the solo dance performance, that was fantastic. I actually, sort of to be a little bit different, I'm going to highlight Krista Anderson's award because she was so humble and talked about her desire to help feed the community, and it just really emphasizes that we're not just a district of schools, we are part of the community, right? And so how important it is that we maintain those public-private partnerships like with IJAG and some of the other things that we do. And so I thought that was a real highlight, just showing what amazing staff we have here. So I'm going to go with that one. I mean, statewide recognition is pretty cool, and we don't always get to celebrate that. So
Thank you. Superintendent Schneckloff.
The beautiful diversity that you saw from our students, that was an absolute highlight for me. I think it's what makes us special. Beautiful diversity.
Yeah, I would say my man doing his dance solo. I thought I was gonna have to go out there and move the TV a couple times, but no, they did an awesome job, and our student board members gave very great last reports, and we won't see them again until they walk across the stage, which will be cool as well. Other than that, I appreciate working with all of you, and we'll see you at the next one. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.